Welcome, race fans, to another exciting night for the Elite Racing Network. So glad you could join us here for the second race in the round of 14 here, presented to you on YouTube. We are live at Richmond International Speedway for the Mission 22 200. Rashad, this is a short track here, the second event on the round of 14. This short track is going to provide a lot of excitement and a lot of challenges for these drivers here as they navigate 200 circuits around this D-shaped oval.
Yeah, going to be an interesting night here tonight. We know these cars have been pretty tricky for drivers on short tracks this season, this next-gen car. So going to be interesting to see how these drivers fare. Obviously now with the championship on the line, Tate Lytle, the winner last time out at Sonoma. So he doesn't have to worry too much about this. Can allow the rest of these guys to kind of fight it out as they begin to pace here. We're just going to quickly run through our starting grid, though, as we get a chance to. And it's David Tooker there who grabs that pole position. It's an all-pro racing front row with Ethan Burrell filling in as well. He's not a chase driver, showing up, though, just for this event.
And Pro Edge seems to be on a roll as of late, especially David Tooker there had an incident there involved in a spin and had a win that perhaps did get away from him, but him starting on the front row here, he can really right what was wronged of him last week with a win here tonight. As we get to the backstretch, we'll break it down quickly for you. 200 laps, 150 miles. The fuel window is about 150 to 125 laps. However, the tire window, a little bit less than that. We do expect these guys to go down here at least once for the drop of the green flag. Tonight, we are racing under the lights at Richmond Raceway. David Tooker. The second race is underway here for the Elite Racing Network, and he leads them down into turn number one.
Yeah, good start for David Tooker there. Good jump there. And now Ethan Burrell needs to look to his inside because Chris Wright kind of following Tooker through on that inside line, trying to get that jump as well. But Burrell does a good job holding off, and he's well clear of 20 car, who now has to worry about Chad Frankenfield. Curious, I know you talked to a couple of drivers here, Alex. Do you know kind of what the lines are going to look like here tonight, in terms of what these drivers can run? From my experience with Richmond, that bottom lane is pretty much the preferred line all the way around, but it does definitely look like you can still run a little bit on the top in the early stages of the stint.
Ooh, we saw the 5-car actually get a little bit loose there as he goes back. And, actually I was doing some research there, and from what I've seen with past races, as we have a caution on the speedway here, first one of the night.
Big crash.
Ooh, that is going to involve. That is something that a lot of these competitors, especially those that are in the round of 14, do not want to be involved in. Josh Robin in the 8-car, and there's Scott Haney in the 92 gets collected in a big hit, just entering turn 3 right there. Yeah,
let's see if we can spot what happened with Josh Robin there, because it was a blinking issue, I think, with this 8-car. So let's take a look and head back to our replay once again and see how that all kind of started out here. So be warned, it may be a little bit jumpy here as we follow the 8-car because he'll appear on and off from our screen. But it looks like it all starts with the 8-car. Gets loose off the corner, and yeah, he just kind of goes.
Ooh.
23 as well also hits the wall. Everybody trying to avoid. Haney spins around, gets Chad Thornquist, Rusty Capel involved in that. Here goes Josh Robb with another hit. Jared Rexing, one of our chase drivers, and Brandon Key both involved in that as well, though hopefully minimal damage to those cars.
Yeah, it looked like Jared Rexing actually came to a stop, and that is the fear we have racing at a short track here, where so much of your own destiny is controlled by the guys around you. Him starting with a qualifying position that really placed him back there. Looks like he was able to escape. No foul, but that will make you breathe just a little bit harder there at the beginning of this round. Looks like we already have some takers on to pit road there.
Yeah, a couple of these guys I think are all involved in that incident. Jared Rexing, the biggest name right there that's involved in that one. And we saw in the replay just briefly, there is a little bit of damage to the front right of that car. You can just see it in that picture there. The front right, just tiny little touch of damage. Can't actually see anything there. But yeah, that's the best picture we've got of it. So Jared Rexing going to try and get as much of that repaired as he can. Just kind of have the virtual crew, kind of punch out that sheet metal, and he gets back going, even though it's a composite body technically on these next-gen cars, isn't it?
Yeah. But, I mean, what you said right there is very, very crucial. He needs to fix any damage that you have here, because that's going to slow you down. Thankfully, it wasn't very much, and it began at the very start of the race, so he should be able to carry on there. Hopefully, that'll be the last time he goes on pit road for damage.
Yeah,
And
definitely. We'll keep an eye out for that. No, for sure. It's you put yourself in such difficult situations starting at the back here. That Brandon Key, Jared Rexing, Johnny Thomas as well. All these guys, 27th, 28th, 29th, all in a row in the back here, and a lot of cars they need to get by. Tate Lytle, a few positions ahead of them, but remember, Tate Lytle's in that safe position where he doesn't have to worry. He can take it pretty easy this race. He doesn't need to worry about guys potentially crashing into him because no matter what happens, he is progressing to the next round of this chase.
And you know what? I'm just gonna. He might not want me to share this there, Tate Lytle there, but the reason why I was late getting in this room there, Shaw, was that I clicked on the wrong chat room and I walked in on him singing to the Pro Edge guys, or rapping. He was all very happy. I mean, he was the only one spirited, and rightfully so. He has nothing to worry about here tonight. So I would imagine that would be why his spirits were raised, and they certainly were from what I heard in that Pro Edge Racing chat. So sorry I was late there, Rashad. I was being serenaded by our point leader.
I was going to say, I've run truck races with Tate Lytle, and I can safely say that that's not a one-time thing. He does that before every single race. So, man, it's been working for him this season, so we certainly can't hate on that as David Tooker leads the field back to green here on lap 8.
He gets a good jump there in front of the 37 car. Side by side is Chris Wright trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack, and just before that caution flag actually flew, you had asked what line we were going to see these guys perhaps try and navigate. I believe, just like what we saw in some of these races earlier seasons, in real life, I think the bottom of the racetrack is definitely going to play the best as far as getting the grip and getting around this track fast now. But as the tires lose grip, I do think we see drivers migrate to the top side of the racetrack.
Yeah, looking forward to that as we've got some movement a little bit towards the back of the pack. Gerald Campbell going to the inside of Dallas Myhand. Them running in the 12th and 13th positions here.
And the 24 car had a big wobble there out of turn 2 as well. That is going to be, I was listening to Jeff Burton earlier describe this race here for the playoffs in real life, and he had mentioned how turn 2, your car is really tight, but how turn 4, it's the exact opposite, how the track opens up. You're trying to put power back to the rear wheels, but the car gets very, very loose right there. And it's a handful as you try to navigate entering back into turn 1, because it's also a D shape. The front stretch is not straight like what we see right here. You are actually turning quite a considerably amount from turn 4 to turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, again, I've been somewhat vocal about this. Richmond is not my favorite track to drive. I genuinely I struggle a lot with this particular track.
And why is that, Rashad? Let's talk about it. This track is difficult.
It was. I mean, yeah, it's super tricky to race around this track, in my opinion, personally, because of what you just mentioned there. I mean, you're handling a very loose-natured car, especially in turns 1 and 2. It's really easy to lose that because you're again kind of hanging onto it down the front straightaway, the front D. Part of the oval. Coming off of turn 4 as well, you're trying to put that power down, and the number of times I've put that power down and had the car spin out on me is extremely high. That's something that I'm curious to see how these cars deal with, because we know they've been pretty tail happy on short tracks this season. Coming off of turn 4, I'm curious to see if anybody gets just a little bit loose there. We saw looseness off of turn number 2. But yeah, I mean, I've just struggled with getting power down here at this racetrack. It's certainly had my number in the races that I've run here before.
That is something all these drivers will be talking about and perhaps complaining about on their radio right there. As we see the 37 car, he's actually lost a couple of spots to his teammate up front. He's been passed by Chad Frankenfield and Matthew Weeks, 2 contenders in the round of 14. They're looking to improve their position before we get to next week here, where you don't want to be anywhere near that cutoff line, especially at the track we're going to next week there, Rashav.
Yeah, oh man, we got to look out for Talladega. That one's going to be a real wild card. But, I mean, even here, so Richmond's probably our best short track here in the Elite Racing League. So hopefully it's not as much of a wild card race as, we have at other short track events. As kind of everyone's single filed out right now, I think we're settling into a move in this first run. But Talladega next week, we do a good job with, restrictor plate racing or tape spacer racing. I suppose it doesn't have quite the nice ring to it. We do a good job with that, have a lot of green flag running, but, anything can happen. we've already seen this package, the way it performs at super speedways at Daytona earlier this season. It is tricky to get runs, so you got to be wary and have that track position, but also guys are going to be aggressive because that track position is going to be so valuable.
It really is here. In order to get to Talladega, you want to make sure you have a great finish here tonight. And so far, with the exception of that lap 3 incident, these guys are putting down some pretty mean and clean laps. As we see Nick Massey, one of our only 2 multiple race winners this season, he took a look to the inside of Scott Crump right there. Nothing right there. And now Scott Crump is actually going to use that to his advantage in turn 1, and he'll get underneath Chris Wright. That's a side-by-side battle for 5th.
Yeah, great battle here, and the question is, coming off the corner, who has the advantage there? Because Crump has the shorter way around the track, but you'd imagine that Chris Wright just had that better drive off the corner, and it kind of looked like that down back straightaway. We'll see, though. Crump does a good job kind of staying just a nose ahead of Chris Wright. So Wright hanging on the outside, but I think by the time they get out turn number 2, he's probably going to clear, and he is. So Scott Crump up into the 5th position there with a good move down the inside.
And you see the fear by the 20 car in order to try and get back to the bottom line, because there was a freight train of cars that were single file behind him as the yellow flag is out for the second time. And a big hit.
Andrew Rucker as well. That's a chase driver involved in that. So Andrew Rucker, Tyler Fode, both collide here coming off of turn number 4. Ooh, is it Vincent? Oh, Vincent Isabella comes down on Tyler Fode. They both go around, and Fode crashes straight in front there of Andrew Rucker. That's huge implications for the playoff driver Rucker.
And Rucker, I believe, was one of those guys that was already flirting with that cutoff line.
It was.
He was already 5 points away. And now, with major front-end damage here, our first championship contender with an issue after the 40 and the 42 make contact entering turn 3. It looked like the 40 actually kind of came up a little bit right there. And I was just going to make a comment about how side-by-side entering that turn 3, how the car on the bottom of the racetrack has to worry about perhaps getting loose and losing the race car. How aerodynamically you can be taken advantage of side-by-side. If you're that car on the inside there, you need to make sure you don't put yourself in a precarious spot, and that's exactly what I believe happened with the 40 car, and unfortunately the 64 car is a victim because of it.
Yeah, that's huge damage there for Andrew Rucker. Fortunately for him, short track, you're not as worried about aero issues and aero damage. The thing he needs to be worried about right now is that radiator punched in. Does he have potential engine damage? Because that was a hard hit to the nose there. He's going to have to run into pit road. As we get back to live pictures, we'll see him just coming down pit road now. That's actually Tyler Fode on our screens. But, yeah, that's really unfortunate for Andrew Rucker. He's got some work to do to get that car back up and running if he can at all.
And this being a short track as well, the laps kind of click by very fast, even under caution. And so the time needed to fix that car, very crucial. And hopefully he won't go a lap down here, but I believe he might, actually.
Yeah, so how about this? Some interesting strategy calls here. So Chris Wright, Nick Massey, Jacob Adams, Charlie Brown, 4 cars all staying out on this caution.
I believe, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off right there, but I believe the 64 car, he may have been able to stay on the lead lap. It looked like he actually beat the pace car right there.
It looks like he is on the lead lap. Great catch there, great eye. That's huge for him.
That is big.
Yeah. So definitely, good news for him is that there wasn't required damage on that 64 car, because that normally keeps you stuck in the pit road no matter what. It's all optional, which means that 64 should still run reasonably well here at a short track like this. But what I was talking about just a little bit before we caught that, Dallas Myhand, interesting call to come down pit road, but only take 2 tires. So I'm not sure if those are left or right side tires there, but deciding, hey, I'm just going to take 2 tires, see how that plays out versus the guys who took no tires in front. David Tooker on back, all on 4 tires.
All right. So second caution of the night, going to flip strategy here, and the grid as far as track position currently. So Chris Wright, he's one of our drivers inside the contender round there for 14. He will also be awarded a bonus point for leading a lap. That is important.
Yeah, it is. Every single point matters. I mean, it's so close between these guys coming into the race. The cutoff line is who even is on the cutoff line. Jared Rexing right now just above it. It's plus or minus 4 points, and there's a bunch of guys right there. Most drivers are no more than probably 10 points clear from the cutoff. So a lot to really worry about there.
All right, so lap 26 at 200, we've gotten a pretty good feel of the race car here. What do you think these guys are feeling inside the race car right now?
Obviously, I think they're hoping to just get that long run underway. I think that allows people to just have a chance to spread out and run your own race here, because on these cautions, that's when you get nervous, because guys are running side by side. There can be more incidents, more cautions that come out, and the chance that you're caught up inside that. So that's what these playoff guys at least are worried about. The guys who aren't in the playoffs, they're obviously just worried about one thing, and that's adding a win to their season, getting a good result to kind of build on momentum for next season. But we're getting back to green flag racing here. Chris Wright, an early jump on the rest of the field, leaves Nick Messi and Jacob Adams in the dust.
Right now, you see David Tooker has to be very weary about where he is. He started in the outside lane, and right now he's kind of boxed in.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be taken 3 wide. That is something you don't want to have happen as Chad Frankenfield gets to the inside of Dallas Myhan, who wisely backs out of that battle.
Yeah.
Now it'll be a side-by-side battle. Whoa, that 1 and that 5, that is an interesting paint scheme on the 15. I actually thought it was the 5 car. I think I might have called it that, but that would not actually... Oh, 1 in the wall there. It's the 46 in front of more championship contenders. The 90s into Scott Crump. Tate Lytle gets a piece of this. Joshua Clark in half the field
Johnny
on the
Thomason
outside
as
lane.
well. Oh my gosh, this is a big
This
one.
is the fear that we had entering tonight's race. What drivers would be able to survive an issue? I mean, this takes out a good chunk of people. Ethan Burrell hard into the inside wall.
You'll see
Gerald
Dallas
Campbell
Myhan
gets a piece of it.
Johnny Thomas is in that. Tate Lytle. Joshua Clark. You see Michael Goodman a little bit behind these guys. David Westergreen in that We Want Dodge paint scheme after the announcement that came out today from NASCAR. Brandon Key, another. A lot of chase drivers involved in this.
This is the fear tonight of what we were talking about here, Rashav. You just did not need to be put in a position like this. And that is the fear also when you have guys that are on the field that are on a mixed strategy bag here that kind of flips the field, and suddenly you're racing against guys who you're just not sure of, or perhaps their car isn't just as good as what we've seen from the people that are normally up front, and that is exactly what happened. I think Ethan Burrell, he had heavy nose damage. I would be surprised if he is still in contention there. Tate Lytle got squeezed to the outside wall. I think he'll be able to soldier on.
Yeah, well, drivers in pit road right now who are repairing damage. You've got Ethan Burrell, Brandon Key, Scott Crump, Trevor Elam, Zach Evans, Scott Haney, Andrew Rucker repairing damage, I think, from the last incident there. Michael Goodman, David Westergreen, Dallas Myhan, Joshua Clark, Tate Lytle, Dustin Dewar, Rusty Capel. So many drivers involved in that incident. Charlie Brown was the one who kind of started that whole thing. And that's what I was just saying, is you're really worried if you're starting mid-pack. Heck, Charlie Brown was right at the front of the field. He was running in 5th position when he crashed out. That's why so many drivers, got involved in that. So you're terrified. The only person who's clear of this right now is Chris Wright, because he stayed out. He hasn't come down pit road, and this is what I was saying. This could potentially be more of a wild card race than Talladega.
Absolutely here. By my calculations, at least 5 playoff drivers. So I had Brandon Key, Scott Crump, Tate Lytle, although he is kind of, there's an asterisk to that. It's with his win. Thankfully, he was saved. But I thought I saw Jared Rexing also get in there as well. And Andrew Rucker, who you had mentioned, was perhaps fixing damage from that last crash, also involved as well. So a lot of playoff contenders there that just had their dashes severely take a hit already on lap 30.
Yeah, no, that's really, really major implications. And yeah, like you said, we're only on lap 30 right now. These guys kind of need to get settled in here, get a run going. It hasn't been a great start for these drivers. 3 cautions already and 3 pretty significant incidents, all of them involving 3 or more cars. So, yeah.
And each one of them involving a championship contender. So
Yeah. Jeez.
we are in for a long night here, Rashad. Chris Wright and Nick Metz, perhaps they know something to stay out. As the lights are off the pace car, so we get the 1 to go signal here, but that was very close. And I'm telling you, David Tooker also almost got a piece of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, so I'll say this, and I don't think it's going to happen here in the Cup Series just because of 200-lap race. Even with cautions, you're not going to be able to make it without taking fuel at least once. But I mean that's something that could be a strategy here. Is you think there's going to be cautions all night, just don't come down pit road. Just don't give up that track position. There was an Xfinity race a couple of seasons ago, where I remember I was crew chiefing for that, and we didn't stop the entire race. We came home P3. The top 3 drivers in that race did pit, so we could see that tonight. Look out for that top 3: Chris Wright and Nick Massey, Jacob Adams, all still yet to pit tonight.
So we have cleared the big one here. You see some wounded cars still on pit road. Meanwhile, you see Chad Frankenfield took a look underneath Nick Massey in that 48 car.
Yeah, Frankenfield's strong right now. That's the advantage, of course, of taking these fresh tires. Is you're going to have the pace advantage when when you're getting green flag running. And if we stay green here for a long time, it's going to be advantage. Frankfield's going to be advantage. All these guys with tires as Massey goes to the inside of Wright for the race lead. He's going to get some help here from Chad Frankenfield, his teammate. Massey could be taking over the lead of this race here, but you can just see the pace in the 15 car, how much better they can roll the center of corner as Nick Massey does clear the 20, grabs the lead, grabs a bonus point for the lead position here. But yeah, I mean, if we stay in short run mode, then yes, the advantage is with the 48 and the 20. But right now they're losing track position. The guys who did come down pit road, they're starting to find this advantage. The more laps we run, the more of an advantage the guys with fresh tires will have.
Ooh, you saw the 20 actually missed the corner right there entering turn 3. He opens up the bottom, and he's going to lose even more as there's slight contact between the 25 of Adams and the 11 of Matthew Weeks right there. He gathered up, but now the 11 car finding himself in a hole right behind the 20, who now fights to get back to the bottom of the racetrack right there, and yellow flag number 4 is out.
Perfect timing on that, because we are joined by a driver who was involved in the last yellow flag and who didn't really need to run the car again. Tate Lytle, winner at Sonoma. Talk us through what happened there, because that started way up at the front of the pack, and a lot of good cars were involved in that one, including yourself.
Yeah, I just saw the 46 get loose off 2 there, and I was hoping he'd spin low. I mean, if I would have gone low, I would have wrecked anyway, but I just committed high. And I don't know, I got sandwiched by a couple people. I didn't have any engine damage, but I had like 10 minutes required, or 9 minutes required, and then 5 minutes of optional. So I figured by the time I got that required finished, it wouldn't be really worth my time. So I figured, if you guys don't mind, I'll just come hang out with you.
Well, no, it's not often we get to talk to the championship point leader during the race, so unfortunate circumstances there. But if there ever was a time for you to join us up in the booth, it would be perhaps in this round, where the next 2 races for you don't really matter, and you've been able to use the mulligan there as we see our latest caution flag. Actually,
so
no, I'm sorry.
This is the one that got paid out. Yep.
Yeah, you see me back there. I'm like 3 cars behind the 46, and I see him spinning low, and I just kind of committed high, and then right as I committed high, he comes back up the track, and then Johnny ended up getting cleaned out and coming back up into me too. And
Johnny Thomas, that was the other competitor that we are missing.
Chase, the other chaser involved there. Saw you also your teammate Josh Clark involved in that. Is that car running at all, or he's done as well?
I think he's pretty well junked. I mean, the good thing with Pro Edge right now, I'm locked in. Clark isn't in the playoffs, so we're really, and now there's Ethan, so we're really just kind of hoping that Weeks and Tucker can have a couple decent finishes. And I was just kind of looking at the replay to see how bad it was for Tucker. I'm not real sure.
I think he just narrowly avoided it.
He just did miss it. As soon as the Charlie Brown got loose right there, he was able to duck to the inside, and the best thing in his rearview mirror was the wreck. So he did not get a piece of the wall, and our pole setter, still very much in contention here to try and nab that win, although he has not been able to regain the lead. He's back in 4th place currently.
Still a pretty decent run for him. I know Tucker, he's pretty bummed to lose out at Sonoma last week, just with how good he's on the road courses. And I mean, you guys could see on the broadcast how much faster he was than me. but I just had just enough of a gap on him to kind of be able to finish out the deal. And right now, I'm pretty thankful I did, because otherwise I'd be in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, I'm curious. I have a feeling, because of your history on super speedways, how you might respond to this, but I've got the feeling, at least in iRacing, at least, or at least in the elite racing leagues, the short tracks to me always feel like a little bit more of a wild card race than the super speedways here. Yes, I think there's a little bit more of a factor that other people can win on super speedways who might not normally be in contention, but getting involved in wrecks, at a short track seems much more likely than getting involved in one of the super speedway, at least in this league.
I mean, maybe for a normal person, but man, I mean, I think I finished 6th at the Daytona 500 in this league, and I mean, I was working my tail off to get that. I've actually had decent luck, like, of late, but in Elite, my luck on the speedways or super speedways is pretty terrible. I got a lot more finishes in the 30s than I do in the top 10, but hey, we're locked in, so who cares? We're gonna go out there and try and help our teammates out as much as we can. If it comes down to the last couple laps, we got a shot, and we'll take it. But let's see, we're on lap 42 at 200. We've got Chad, Weeks, Campbell, who's not in the chase, Tucker, and is that Michael Hosick, the Canuck, running P5, coming green.
Yeah, representing that Maple Leaf there quite well so far inside the top 5. As you see, Chad Frankenfield get a good jump in front of the 11 car. Your teammate right there, Matthew Weeks. Here comes our last reigning champion, the 31 car, who's still looking for a win this season. The 97 car, Alexander Van de Sand. He's also one of those guys. He didn't have the best of days at Sonoma, considering he started on the pole there and got a top 10 out of it, but definitely had a better car than what the result was at the end of the checkered flag. He, in the 19 of David Tucker, making contact there. That was the highlight of last week. We'll see what happens to be the highlight of this week, as we see Joshua Clark right behind in the 28 car get loose out of turn 2, and there's Jared Repsing riding the high side here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's loose in general around this racetrack, I think, off of 2, and when you've got a damaged car, I'm sure that doesn't help a ton. As guys all over the racetrack, and we have a 1-car crash by the looks of it. That brings out the caution. Trevor Elam in the 29 here. We'll take a look.
Oh, let's see. He's not going very fast.
Ooh,
didn't turn.
Interesting.
I don't know.
That's a strange one.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about that one. I don't think it's possible to blow a left rear and have it do that.
That was a very sudden spin there.
Yeah.
It didn't really seem to be coming when it happened.
I don't know. That's above my pay grade to try to decide what happened there.
Yeah, very, very interesting, issue there for the 29 car. Not Chase driver. He's shown some really good pace this season, but right now running in the 25th position, obviously, after that incident. Likely might be out of it for the night. We'll see if anybody decides to come down pit road. A couple of takers, David Tucker, Scott Crump.
More didn't here. Let's see. We pitted on like lap 24. This is kind of, that's another 24 lap run.
Well, I was going to ask you there, Tate, well, what were the tires like, and how did they go away with these kind of 20 lap runs that we're seeing here?
I mean, I screwed up my qualifying run and started out back. So, I mean, my tires are, a lot more saved than probably the guys that were up front running pretty hard. And I was at 93 on the right front after 24 laps, and that was probably with 8 caution laps. So, I mean, they're wearing out, but, I mean, if 20 cars stay out and you pit with 10% worse tires, it's not going to do you a whole lot of good.
Also places you back in the danger zone, as I like to refer to, being caught up in another wreck. This is our 5th one of the night. We have not hit 1/4 race distance. It is perhaps going to be a long one here at Richmond.
Yeah, I told you that earlier, Alex. I was like, I hope you're ready to rock and roll, because you're gonna have, your hourly rate's gonna go down tonight for sure.
You told me a lot there, and actually, I was gonna ask if you take requests.
Oh, yeah, you got any?
Oh boy.
I don't know if Rich has any context here. I think Rich
the
is.
singing? Oh no, I have context. I've raced with you before,
I did.
man.
That's true. That's true.
I had to explain to him why I was late to the booth here because I saw his tweet asking if I was going to be there, and I was busy being serenaded by you.
Yeah, I was singing the Spins by Mac Miller and really putting my whole heart into it.
I loved it, man. You know, the world needs more of it. So.
Oh man.
Oh jeez.
Great to hear you guys having some fun over there in Pro Edge. It's always
we always have fun. That's the thing is at the end of the day, these race cars are fake.
But the
I just had a couple.
are real.
I had a couple pretty hard hits, and I don't got a bruise on me one. So, the relationships with your teammates, those are real things, like you said. The racing itself, I like to say the race cars may be fake, but the racing is real. So we put our full effort into this when we're on the track. We're not giving each other an inch, just like we wouldn't give each other an inch in real life, but obviously the consequences of crashing are a lot less, and there's only one person to feel bad for you, and that's you. You don't have 60 people that work on your car every week like those guys in real life. Looks like Chad's going to take the top here. I wonder why he's doing that. I'll have to see who's in third and fourth. Maybe that has something to do with it. But let's see. We got Gerald and Gerald and Vanasant. Maybe Chad thinks Vanasant's less of a threat than Gerald. He's trying to pin Gerald. I don't know. That's normally how I would kind of play that. I'd look who's in third and fourth, and whoever I think's more of a threat, that's who I pin behind the guy in second. As Chad is gone on his back.
Yeah. So actually, question about that for you, Tate. You've had some experience, obviously, restarting from the lead of these races, but how much of a difference does it really make the lane that you choose? Because you get such an advantage by being first guy to start at the green flag, because we don't have a restart zone. There's no kind of the second place drivers, everybody else has to guess. There you see Chad Frankenfield goes extremely early, and everybody else has to respond to that. So it's hard for the second place driver to really react in time.
Yeah, I like to keep him guessing. My strategy is...
Oh, we're live here. I just want to let you know.
I know. My strategy is if they're laying back, I go early. And if they're trying to pace me nose to nose, I'll go late. And I think Chad's strategy is just go early every time. So I'm surprised he gets as good a restart as he does every time, because I feel like he goes early every time.
Well, he catches people off guard, it seems, or at least there with Matthew Weeks and Gerald Campbell, though Weeks was able to quickly react, I think, to Frankenfield and actually close up that gap. That's the issue, I guess, with going too early is you give someone enough of a draft down the front straightaway that they can kind of close back in on you.
Yeah, maybe not so much here. Oh, Hassett gives Key a bump. They're 3 wide. Fits in the middle. Oh, man.
That is definitely not where you want to be if you are one of these championship contenders. You see the 10 of Jared Rexing have to back out of it, and the 25 did everything he could. He was on the outside of a 4-wide situation, and Michael Hossack still flirting with that wall. He did more than flirt. He did touch it on the front stretch.
Yeah, if you're that 20, the 10 car, the 19, you're terrified right now. You just want to get by this 24 car who seems to be struggling just a little bit because, you've got to get points here tonight. The chase is super, super tight right now. Everybody's just within, 10, 15 points of each other. So you get caught up in one of these wrecks like some of these other drivers earlier on in this chase, and, man, it could really ruin your hopes for next week.
Yeah, I mean, you get behind some of those guys that, maybe don't have the speed to begin with, and they've got a little older tires. It kind of worries you if they're trying to go a little too hard off the corner and they spin that right rear tire a little bit. You could be in for a disaster yourself as well. So you got to be pretty careful of who you're passing, where you're passing them, the context that you have when you're passing them, whether they have tires or don't. It looks like Vincent's kind of covered a little bit. Key falling back. Key needs himself a good run tonight. I think he's pretty far back in the chase after last week in Sonoma. But Chris Wright, I think he's in the plus. So I mean, if I'm him, I'm going to be pretty cautious. I don't want anything too bad happening to me if I'm Chris Wright, because you want to go into Talladega with, even if it's just a 10-point buffer, that's better than being 10 points back.
Certainly, as we see the 19 of David Tooker there, he's one of those guys that had just pitted. He's already up to the 11th position, but like these guys in the back of the pack, they need, on fresher tires, they have to be aggressive right here because they have to make use of those fresher tires there.
Yeah, they really do there, and you can see Chris Wright trying to clear the 99 of Brandon Key. David Tooker tries to do the same thing, and taking that low line off, you can see just how loose the drivers get when you can't really open up the steering wheel to put the power down. Key right now is really struggling on that top lane. He needs to find the bottom again, kind of get back into a groove. His tires pretty old, but not the oldest tires around here. Tooker with the kind of the freshest tires of this group that we've been watching. But yeah, really interesting to see here. Key just needs to settle back into a groove here, get that bottom line again, and kind of find some pace here. Struggling a little bit early on. He stays high.
Yeah, look at the front end of that 90 car, or lack thereof, the Scott Crump.
That thing's looked the same all year. That radiator hasn't. I mean, that thing's getting more air than anything. Yeah, he's going down the back stretch. That radiator's getting a lot more air than that 10 cars, and somehow the 90 still has speed. I don't know. I feel like if my car looked like that, I'd be right here with you guys because I had too much damage.
Well, that short track racing for you there. The aero effects clearly don't seem to matter that much.
As you see Scott Crump go around Jared Rexing there, he made that pass look easy.
Yeah,
despite that car not.
His last lap was faster than later last time by, so I mean that's pretty incredible that he can go out there with. I mean,
he's got fresh tires. That's the other difference. He's
true.
got 15 lap fresher tires than Rexing. That I'm sure makes a bit of a difference around this racetrack.
True, but I can tell what manufacturer Rexing is. If I didn't know that Crump was a Toyota, I mean, I don't know if I could really tell. Looks like Van de Sant, Nick Massey. I don't know if you guys have had a time to kind of shine a spotlight on him yet, but he is, in my eyes, of this field, the best at Richmond. I've seen him absolutely school fields here at Richmond. Obviously, the car was a little different, but he was really fast in practice. I was surprised to not see him quite as fast in qualifying, but I mean, I would not be shocked if that 48 car is the one doing burnouts at the end of this race.
And with you being out of this race, he's the only multi-winner in the field currently, and he's inside the top 5, looking for more as he gets underneath Alexander Van de Sant in turn 3, setting his sights on our reigning champion, that 31 car.
Yeah, they're going to try to split him. I don't know about that one. But yeah, Nick Massey, he's one of the most consistent guys in the field. He may not come with winning pace every week, but he's going to put himself in a position at the end of the race more times than not to where, you know, like what happened at Atlanta between me and the 20 car, if we have an issue, he's right there for the taking. So
I was going to say, oh!
I jinxed him!
You talk to him,
I
he gets
jinxed
into
him!
the 31.
I
hangs
jinxed
on.
him! Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. You're going to get an EOL for that, and it is all my fault.
Tate, come on.
Well, Rashad, let's just be glad it wasn't us.
That's true. That's true. We've actually been pretty good about it this season. But yeah, that's.
It looks like the left front just kind of.
He did everything but hit the butt end of that pit wall right there. Nick Massey.
Definitely wasn't on purpose, but it was definitely his fault.
Gets in there just a little high.
Yeah, just kind of goes a little bit too high heading through that corner.
Almost,
Van de Sant with some damage as well, though.
And I just
almost
heard
a
Race
mirror
Control
of
say he's getting an EOL, so. Sorry, Nick. That one's on me, man.
Well, everyone coming down pit road here. Scott Crump staying out. Obviously, he pitted on that last caution. Dustin Dewar also staying out there. Crump getting those valuable extra points there, obviously, for leading a lap, so that's going to be huge for him. David Tooker, meanwhile, on pit road here. Chad Frankenfield, expect to see him rolling down here in just a second or two. There comes Chad.
Yep. Weeks, second off.
Vincent Isabella is the third car off.
That right side looks like it's had some fun tonight on it. Vincent Isabella's car. 20 car looks pretty clean.
Yeah, so I mean, speaking of that right side, and a lot of these cars having damage, I know that this next gen, NASCAR has been very tricky, especially on short tracks this season. Is it more or less the same here at Richmond, or has it been a little easier to handle because of the banking?
I mean, it was easier at Iowa than it was here, I think.
Okay.
With these next gen cars, you got to pump those brake biases back so far. Or if you really got to get on them, you're going to lock up the rears and you're going to spin out. But if you don't do that, you get on it too hard, you lock up the left front, and you do what Nick Massey just did, getting into the 31. So, I mean, it's hard. I can't wait for NASCAR to actually get some time running it and iRacing to have some time to give us some updates, because I know that how this thing's driving, or at least I hope. I don't know, but I'm hoping that this isn't how it actually drives, because it really isn't much fun. It was pretty fun at Bristol just because it was. I mean, we were hauling around Bristol. We were doing like 14-second lap times and making really good time, and it was sketchy, but nothing too bad. But here, this is probably Darlington was really bad. There's just no control in the car. If you try to correct it, you're gonna hook it into the fence, and if you didn't, you're gonna hook it into the other fence. It kind of feels the same, not quite as bad as Darlington tonight, but it's doable. It's you guys are in for a show come these last couple of races. That Homestead race, hopefully I'm one of the ones going for a championship, but I mean, you have to run the fence, but people are still going to get a run on you, and they're going to dive you in the next corner, and you're going to have to cross them over. It's going to be a commentator's delight as long as we don't cause too many cautions. But
Well,
What would you say is the biggest difference between this Gen 6 car and driving it on iRacing versus the car that we have right now, that next gen car, which will be the car of tomorrow, for lack of a better term, in the real world?
So I feel like these cars, if you get loose, say you slide it into turn 1, and the Gen 6 car, you can kind of drive out of it. You can use the throttle and actually turn right and drive out of it. In these cars, if you turn right, you're going to overcorrect. It doesn't matter how much you turn right, you're going to hit something. So that's why whenever you see someone get loose and they save it in these cars, you got to give them full props, because that is hard to do. It looks like we're going green here. The bumperless 90 car takes off, gets a good jump on the 32. He's a little loose. 11 car is going to be even with the 32 getting into 1. He's probably going to clear him pretty easy on those new tires.
Yeah, so back to green flag racing here. Also look out for Chad Frankenfield. He's been aggressive on these restarts as he does clear the 32 there now. We've got some movement in the back of the pack.
Crump
Yes.
chopped Weeks getting into turn 3.
Free wide here in the back as a bunch of chasers. And
Jacob Adams.
Jacob Adams involved in that.
Four
Looks like
wide.
Thomas. Jesus.
3 wide.
Yeah, this
Gerald,
is
you're
exactly
crazy.
where you do not want to be, as we see the 31 and 25 and the 48 all navigate that traffic as we have a battle for the lead up front. Here comes Matthew Weeks in that 11 car.
Yeah, these
Don't
are.
know if he's been able to.
He needs to get this lap led. Looks like
He does.
Get it there.
And
That's the extra point for the 11 car.
it's all about those fresher tires as well right now for Weeks and Frankenfield, utilizing those as to the best of their ability here. Remember, Crump as well as Dewar did not come down pit road on that last pit stop, and right now it's looking out for Chad Frankenfield and Matthew Weeks, who've now gotten by this 90 car, sending him up to the top. Van de Sant gets by as well. These guys all having good runs. They need these runs. David Tooker also trying to get by here in a lap or two.
Impressed by that run by Vincent Isabella in that 42 car as they stack up a little bit. I believe the 19 and the 42 had to not necessarily jump on the brakes, but get out of the gas there to avoid hitting the 90. And here comes Jared Rexing, one of the guys that but was involved in our very first caution flag. He's been able to rebound from that, and he is solidly inside the top 10 currently.
Yeah, Rexing won the Charlotte truck race the other night. Me and him had a pretty good battle, and he, I don't know what he was doing. It felt like magic. It felt like I was getting played by a magician, but he was able to save his tires a lot better than I was. And he drove off into the sunset and won Sunday night in the trucks, so he's on a little hot streak, and I wouldn't be shocked if he was doing burnouts at the end of this thing. I think he won Kansas a couple weeks ago, so he is in the chase, even though the lack of a banner on that thing, that's why he started out in the back, but he is in the chase or playoffs. I don't really know what to call it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
He's doing a great job getting around that 90 car, who I believe he had a defensive line out of turn 4 trying to protect the bottom line, but you see the 19 and the 10, they just decided to go around him on the high side. Longer way around, but it worked out for him, as that 90 car is perhaps regretting that no call going down pit road.
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier. If we get these really short runs, that no call makes a lot of sense. But I mean, even here, 1 or 2 laps and you're already losing a ton of time and a ton of track position. So it's a tricky call to make. I think you got to start thinking about coming down pit road. I don't know what time limits are for these drivers here tonight. Tate, you might be able to fill in on that, but you've got to obviously preserve the sets of tires that you have. There's a lot of cautions, but you also need to kind of set yourself up well to have the advantage to move yourself forward through the field and get the opportunities to do so.
Yeah, tire limit wise, you got the ones you start the race on plus 6. So you got 7 sets total as Chad blinks a little bit getting into 3. Pretty close to be blinking like that. I don't know if Weeks let him know about it or not, but wouldn't be surprised if he did. So 7 sets total. Don't get mad at me if I'm wrong. This is someone else's math, but someone told me 28 laps, 28 and a half laps is what you got to do per set to be able to be out at the end but not be lacking tires. So some of these guys might be trying to save an extra set because, I mean, if we keep having the cautions we do, and we get down to having 12, 15 cars on the lead lap by the end of the race, if you have an extra set with 15 to go, you're in business. So we'll see how it works out.
I was going to talk a little bit about that because, believe it or not, right now we are within the fuel window to make it to the end of this race. However, the tire window not the same, so still about 20 laps shy, what I believe, would these tires be able to make it there, and also halfway. But the 11, Matthew Weeks, hanging on in front of that 15 of Chad Frankenfield, who I am surprised has yet to still visit victory lane at all this season.
Yeah, he's had speed. I think Weeks is going to battle him pretty hard until lap 100, I think. Playoff point gets distributed to lap 100, and they can carry that on with them into the next round if they make it. So I think if you don't battle it out for lap 100, you'd probably be kicking yourself if you lost by a point or tiebreaker or something like that. So I'd imagine Weeks would probably fight Chad pretty hard, as I think we're only 16 to go till the halfway mark.
Yeah, just about. This battle is still pretty much heating up, and if we can get physical between these top two, Alexander Van de Sant doing a great job, and there's our pole sitter lurking in the distance as well. That's David Tucker. He is not so very far from this battle, about a second behind.
Yeah.
And how ironic would it be for the leaders to have trouble and Van de Sant and Tucker to be the ones that come out on top because of it?
that'd be. I mean, yeah. For Tucker and Van de Sant though, we'll see, because if there are two guys who could potentially come together, I would be shocked if it was Weeks and Frankenfield. But Van de Sant and Tucker both in really good position. They're the two guys leading chase right now without a win. So still in great position in general, points-wise. So if they stay running here, even a third and fourth place finish, I'm sure they'd have to win it. But finishing third and fourth would do them, wonders for their chase hopes to advance to the next round.
For sure. And it's good for Weeks to get out here and lead laps. I don't know if you guys have known Weeks very long. I think, Alex, you have, but when he first got iRacing, he was pretty down on himself. He didn't have the equipment, computer-wise, to really contend. Once he was able to get that, it took him a couple months, but he's really turned it on in the last year or so. And he wins a race or two a season, it kind of seems, and that's better than a lot of guys do. So, I mean, Weeks
was within a straightaway of winning it at Indy right there.
Yeah, him and Clark both. That was a wild one. We'll save Weeks the pain of having to hear about that one again on the broadcast. But he won the Daytona 500 last year. I think he won Michigan a year or two ago. I don't think he's quite broken into the winner circle in this series yet this season, but it hasn't been from a lack of being close. So maybe tonight's the night. Him and Chad and Van de Sant and Tucker all seem to have really good pace. So I think it might be kind of like a race we saw this last weekend in Phoenix. Whoever gets out front, that last pit stop with 20 to go, might be the one in the catbird seat, be able to take home the checkered flag. As Chad got a really good run off of 4. He's going to try and make a dive. See if he can hold it. Weeks gives him a lot of room. Weeks probably going to try and pinch him down. And as they're racing, that 97's just licking his chops as they're going to tend to go for the stage here this time by.
Yeah, so here we go, though. Matthew Weeks protects, though, against Chad Frankenfield. Does a good job there. But, yeah, giving up that bottom, you really don't want to do that if you're Matthew Weeks.
Yellow.
Potentially want to just protect that bottom lane. There we go. Yellow flag is out.
Next one of the night, just as we were about to have
so go to Jacob Adams and see if we can't find something here.
Ooh, there's damage to the left side of that car, but I think there was damage to that before. So we'll take a look here. Oh, it was Jacob Adams, Brandon Key. Yep, here we go. This could be interesting. 2 chasers.
Come up on the 31.
Oh, it's a
Jared
31.
Campbell gets loose. Oh!
Checks.
Oh, no.
Ugh.
It looks like the 31 and the 99 got loose. We'll see what kind of damage that 25 car has. I mean...
Let's see if we can grab a roll bar picker. So this is on board with Jacob Adams.
Yeah, Gerald gets loose, saves it, and then...
I think Adams just a bystander, yeah.
Yeah, Jacob Adams didn't do anything wrong there.
Was the 99 perhaps just reacting a little bit to that 31 car in front of him, shaking the rear end, or did he just get loose?
No.
It looks like he just got
was
loose
just loose, yeah. He
at
was
the
trying
same
to
spot.
drive it off at turn 2 and hold off the 25, which probably was going to be a losing battle anyway, if I remember what the tires that 99 had. But we'll see what kind of damage that 25 car. Hopefully it's not too bad. I know he's a chase guy. He was one of the best ones in the regular season. Most consistent. I don't think he's won a race yet, but I think he's up there in top 5s and top 10, so I hope this isn't something that's going to take him out of this race. But I guess time will tell here. As all the leaders head down pit road for 4 fresh Goodyear Feel Goods, other than my man Johnny Thomas,
who will lead a lap here tonight and be awarded one of those precious bonus points.
It looks like
As we are
Campbell's
under
gonna
caution
win
here
off
for the
pit
sixth time.
road. Weeks second. Chad's gonna be behind Weeks again.
Yeah, so
Gerald
Campbell
Gerald
wins the
take
race
2?
on pit road? No, Gerald Campbell
Oh,
looks like
he must have
missed
missed.
pit road. Yeah.
Must miss his box.
So Matthew Weeks, Chad Frankfield, Alexander Van Asant, all coming back off of pit road here. David Hooker, 4th of the drivers coming out there. Jared Rexing kind of snuck his way back up there as well. We were talking about him earlier on tonight. Chris Wright, then Josh Clark, Nick Massey, Scott Crum, that's your top 10. Johnny Thomas leading the way here. Not coming down pit road. So we'll see again how that plays out. We so far really haven't seen the no stopper with a significant advantage with the long term, but getting that extra lap lead point probably helps there and potentially saving some tires for the end. Want to thank our race sponsor for tonight, Mission 22. Unfortunately, he's not racing tonight, but Kendall Noah Player has a long line of military veterans in his family, and they were all lucky to have minimal issues when they came back from war. However, that's not the case for many veterans that struggle with with several aspects of life after service. Mission 22 is one of the more prominent organizations that helps veterans, and they want to push their name more this Veterans Day week. So check out Mission 22. Donations are always welcome there. United in the war against veteran suicide. Really happy to have them on board, of course. I'm really happy to spread their message here at the Elite Racing Network.
And with tomorrow being Veterans Day, we want to take this time and moment to honor all of our veterans, all those guys that have served here to protect the rights that we have here at home, and to be able to do exactly this, to celebrate racing here safely inside this great country. And so we want to take this moment, just a couple of seconds, to honor those that are not with us here that made the ultimate sacrifice, and also thank those who have done exactly that, keeping us safe here today and every day.
Lights are out on pace cars. We're getting guys ready to go back to green flag racing. Johnny Thomas picking that top lane. Once again, the pole sitter taking that top lane. We'll see how that plays out for him. He'll get that little bit of a jump early on, but expect pretty quickly for Matthew Weeks, Alexander Van Asant, Chad Frankfield, all to kind of gang up on this 91 cars. They've got those fresher tires by about 25 to 30 laps here.
And this is going to be an important battle there, Rashaf, because this is going to probably take us to lap 100. And if a yellow comes out, I don't think we would restart it without crossing over. So Johnny Thomas might try to keep these guys
You got a good
behind
launch,
him.
but you can see those new tires accelerate. Johnny's probably going to go. No, he's not. I would have figured he'd gone a little high there in 1 and 2, but it looks like Chad's going to clear 3 wide. No, Van Asant takes better of it.
And we got a crash in turn 2. Somebody went into the wall.
Looks like Dallas Myhan.
We'll see here before we get back to the action. Dallas Myhan just loose off the corner, spins it around, stays though off racing surface, and we stay under green flag racing here. So back to live pictures.
Oh, Johnny Thomas in the wall there as we rejoin those live pictures there. Lap 98, 2 to go here. David Tooker to the outside of Alexander Van Asant. He's bringing along Jared Rexing. But
Yes.
a bonus point is on the line in the 11 car. Looks like he wants it and could perhaps get it in front of Chad Frankenfield, who's trying desperately to catch back up.
Yeah, I just want to remind our viewers, there is no stage points for the top 10 like you'd see on a regular Sunday afternoon watching the Cup Series or Xfinity Series. But there is a chase point for the leader at halfway, and with 1 lap to go, it looks like Weeks has a pretty good buffer on Chad Frankenfield. As long as he makes no mistakes getting into turn 1 or turn 3, he should be all right to claim that extra chase point if he is to make it through the next round.
All right. So I think that's exactly what's going to be able to go and be awarded to him out of turn number 4. We do it under the green flag here. Matthew Weeks there will be able to enjoy the benefits of leading that lap. Perhaps a little bit later on in that season, and with Talladega looming. Whew.
And we've only been going for a little less than an hour. It seems like a lot longer than that.
It certainly has.
But
we
with how
made
many
it
yellows
halfway,
we've had,
guys.
with how many yellows we've had, we're making pretty good time. Is Chad Frankenfield gonna make another run down turn 1? He thinks better of it. He backs out. But he's been getting that run off of turn 4 a lot. It seems like Weeks is either stalemating or maybe even a little bit better in 1 and 2. But Chad's got something extra in 3 and 4. Looks like he's entering maybe a little bit higher. Clipping that line is able to just kind of accelerate a little bit better than Weeks. Actually, Weeks did a pretty good job that go around. But more times than not, it seems like Chad's getting a little bit more of a run off 3 and 4 than he is off of 1 and 2. And 1 and 2 is pretty sketchy. We've seen a lot of our issues at least start at 1 and 2. They, at least in my case, it may have ended down in 3 and 4. But I think that most of them have started off of turn 2.
Hey, walk me through each position that you'd be in as a driver. I want you to walk me through what you're doing inside the race car with the 11 of Matthew Weeks leading this race, and then the next lap will follow along with the 15 car who's trying to chase him down. Walk me through what you're doing inside the race car.
Okay, so Weeks here, I mean, he's probably looking at his mirror more than I'd want him to. But he's chasing it off to the wall there. He's probably going to lift pretty early and try to get it down to that yellow line. Hook that yellow line pretty good here. Let it apex, and boom, you're right back into the gas. Down the back stretch. Again, in this car especially, going to lift pretty early compared to where we probably normally lift. Try and hook that yellow line. Looks like he missed it a little bit. He's going to diamond it off and get a decent run off the corner, though. And that's a lap leading. Chad Frankenfield, on the other hand, looking up at the 11. He's trying to enter higher and exit lower. That's my... That's normally my strategy when I'm behind somebody. I want to enter a little higher, as you see here, and he's going to diamond it off here, and he's going to exit lower. He's trying to get the run off the corner to gain time. May not be working for him here, but you know, as these right fronts wear off, here in another 10, 15 laps, that might pay dividends for the 15 of Chad Frankenfield. Is there a lap in the 08 of Mark Keeler, and I love Mark to death, but we've seen him cause a couple issues in the past couple of races, so glad he's able to yield for these leaders. Yeah, Chad and Weeks seem to kind of stalemated there a little bit. Tucker's back there in 3rd. If I'm Tucker, I'm just trying to save. I'm just assuming those front 2, they're wearing their stuff off. I'm just trying to save. And I know Rexing's taking that route because I've raced with Rexing enough times. He's pretty good at saving his skins, so or tires. Little racing lingo there for you guys just watching your loved one race a fake race car.
All right, well, I appreciate you actually walking us through, putting on the driver helmet right there. You see the 15 and 11, 2 drivers, 2 different racing styles, and 2 different opportunities here that present in front of them. One trying to get the lead, the other one trying to hang on with 90 laps to go. Want to take this brief moment here. One of our race sponsors, longtime race sponsor that we've had, C2 Freights, we unfortunately have had a death today. We are saddened to hear of the loss of John Cunningham. John owned and operated C2 Freight and was a fantastic supporter of the Elite Racing League, and our thoughts and prayers are definitely with him and his family for this unexpected loss. So we just want to give him a tribute lap for everything that he's been able to do to help bring you this series on YouTube. So we'll be going silent here on this lap 112 and just have a moment of silence for him and his family as we are thinking about him here tonight. Such an honor to have them on board, and we are certainly thinking of them in this time. The 11 car, Matthew Weeks, still leading in front of Chad Frankenfield. They put a little bit of distance in between third place. That's David Tooker, who I believe, just as you had mentioned there, Tate, is probably just trying to save the tires that he can, perhaps try to use that for the long run, one that we have not seen tonight.
Yeah,
if I had to guess, this is probably the longest run we've had. I don't know. Rich probably has some better info on that, but yeah, this feels like the longest run we've had so far.
It definitely does. I actually don't have info on that, but I'm going to assume it's the longest run we've had. Yeah, way to call me out on that one.
My bad.
No, you're good. Yeah, I mean, we've been going since lap 92. That's when everybody came down pit road, so probably about lap 94 or so is when the green flag finally waved. So, I mean, realistically, it's only been about 22 laps or so. Hey, yeah, this might be the longest run we've had. We might have had one more that was one or two more laps longer, but we're about to reach that point here, and you're seeing as the field kind of just stretches out. This is kind of what we expect to see here. Obviously, these guys kind of handling their tires, dealing with their own race. You mentioned, Tate, 28 laps is that. Well, you said that's the minimum pretty much to run on a set of tires if you're going to split it up across all the tires. But do you know when kind of you expect to start seeing guys really falling off in terms of tire wear?
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, you saw how long into the race I made it. But probably with a track like this, I wouldn't think until about 30 or 35. These tires, they seem to, I don't know, in this car, they don't seem to wear out quite as fast as they would on the Gen 6 car. But the temperature that those tires are makes a huge difference as to how much grip you have. So it's almost more temp-based than it is wear-based, which is different than what most of us are used to doing and seeing in our tire black box there. But I mean, probably 30, 35. I can't imagine anyone, maybe those top couple will fall back a little bit, but I can't imagine any of these guys up front really taking a dive through the field because of tire wear. All 6 of these guys that I see up at the front here are pretty good on their tires, and even Clark, he may be a second half back, but he's pretty good on his tires too. This is his home track. I think he actually lives pretty close to this racetrack, so cool to see him up front running in the 7th place. And he actually, fun elite fact, he's got the track record here at Richmond Raceway back in, I believe, 2020A maybe, when we had the 550 package, full downforce, haul on the mail through 1 and 2. And so he may be able to hold on to that for a long while. But Josh Clark back there running in the 7th position. Crump with no nose running 6th. Banniston having a good rebound after last week's misfortune. Rexing continuing his good week, and then those top 3 seem to be pretty consistently up at the top right now.
Yeah, you know, interestingly enough, we go ahead and take a look, or I'll just walk you kind of through the points. Our top 10 drivers, 8 of those are championship contenders, and all 8 of those are within our championship 14, going to be championship 9 contenders heading into after Talladega Super Speedway. So all these guys doing exactly what they need to do to try and solidify their position into the next round after next week. The guys that desperately need to make something happen here and perhaps will be in a must-win situation next week would be Johnny Thomas and Adams, Andrew Rucker, Brandon Keith, and Chuck Sweeting, who is not here tonight as well. So the guys up front in the top 10 doing all that they need to, but those guys that are not, they're missing out on some points, and these guys are piling them on.
And all those guys you just mentioned that are going to be in probably must-win situations next week, I have seen them win personally on played tracks. So I've seen Johnny do it multiple times. He just won the Daytona 500 this year. So, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if any of those guys won next week. But the problem is, for them, only one of them can do it. So hopefully they can gain a few spots by the end of this race and maybe give themselves a fighting chance in the points. But I know Jacob Adams, especially with the amount of talent he has and how good of a season he's had last week and then this week's misfortune, it's gonna leave him quite a hole, and quite frankly a hole that he doesn't deserve to be in. But that's what happens in these playoff formats. Sometimes you can't really control where you are. You just got to be in the right place, right time, make the most of the situation you're dealt, and see what you can do. And there's still a long way to go in this race. I mean, Still got 75 laps to go, so there's a lot that can or can't happen in this next second half of this race.
And while we're talking about those points, I think it's important to also note how you don't want to be necessarily inside the top 9. I think you want to be necessarily safely inside the top 8. I mentioned that because any one of those guys that are able to win their way in next week, you don't want to be the guy on the bottom of the points there that's in that 9th position that's suddenly bounced out. We've seen that play a factor numerous times in real life. My favorite pass to this day is back in 2014 with Ryan Newman knocking out Kyle Larson at Phoenix in order to make it into the championship finale at Homestead the following week. When the checkered flag flew, it was Jeff Gordon. He was solidly in. He finished second to Kevin Harvick that day, but when Ryan Newman passed the start-finish line, he was out. So you don't want to be one of those guys that's in that 9th position there. You're not necessarily safe as well. It's just more drama to look forward to next week.
Yeah, and I mean, Talladega, I don't know if that dive bomb will quite work next week at Talladega like we saw with Ryan Newman back in 14, but I mean,
it was a beautiful
can happen. Anything can and will happen at Talladega. And as a Harvick fan, I was happy to see Newman make that pass because I knew Gordon was going to be a lot more of a threat. And then that old 31 car, he found something that last week and scared us a little bit. But
yeah, he did. He finished. I mean, that really saved his season, knocking out our eventual champion there, Kyle Larson. So, how cool is that to stay there? To often get to talk about, the championship finale during the Elite Racing League. But that was really cool to see a deserving champion, a guy that's won 10 races. We haven't seen that since Jimmy Johnson in 2007. Kyle Larson doing a great job this week, and congratulations to him.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the playoff format. I am a traditionalist. Some will love me for it, some will hate me for it. But if I could have that 2003 format back, I'd take it in a heartbeat. We saw in 2003, Matt Kenseth beat Ryan Newman in the championship. Newman had 8 wins, Kenseth had 1. But guess who was more consistent? Guess who collected more points? It was that 17 car. And I mean, that's the way I think it should be fought. I don't think you should be able to win 8 races and then DNF in the other 28 and call yourself a champion. But that's the way it's set up. And I mean, I guess everyone's playing by the same rules, but it still doesn't quite set real well with me. I think it's a lot more fun to do on in league racing like we do here in Elite Racing. But in real life, I was happy to see Kyle win it because if Truex would have won it, I don't know if that would have. I'd have been a lot more sour about the way that race ended if Truex had won it, just because I felt like Larson was the deserving champion. As we see some of our playoff contenders going through some lap traffic here, Tucker and Rexing are actually side by side, passing Dallas Myhan. You see Nick Massey going by Myhan as well.
See Alexander Vanderson also in the mix. Johnny Thomas had just gone a lap down prior. He brings that ailing car onto pit road. Nick Massey rebounding from an EOL earlier this evening. He's been able to rebound nicely inside the top 10 just behind this battle. And up front, we have not seen a change. Matthew Weeks still leads in front of Chad Frankenfield. However, Frankenfield not letting him get away.
Yeah, he's been closing. Chad Frankenfield's been closing on Matthew Weeks quite a bit. I've been kind of following that for the past few laps here, and it grew out to about a second a few laps ago. And excuse me, the last couple laps, Chad Frankenfield has been really closing on Matthew Weeks. I think he's getting ready here to make a move any lap now.
Yeah, if I'm Chad, I'm going to try it. I'm trying to send that thing to the outside in 1 and 2 because I feel like the outside, though it may not be the way it plays to make lap time, if you can pin someone down on the bottom, it's really hard for them to get back to the gas. So I think if Chad can get to the outside of Weeks, he might have something for him. But if he gets to the inside, I think Weeks is going to race him pretty hard, and I really just can't see him making a pass without a little contact. So
we'll see definitely some contact from the car on the inside as whoa. So Alexander Van de Sant there in the background just get really high. And here's the battle and a change for position for third. Jared Rexing has been able to get around David Tooker.
Yeah, and
that 10 car.
I think that 10 car, he's got some pace. Because I think even the 19's been catching up a little bit, little by little, to our leaders. And that 10 car is clearly faster than 19 right now. So I think, I don't know, I'm going to say 10 laps. That 10 car is me in the back bumper of either the 15 or 11, whoever's in second when we get there.
Well, it'll be interesting to see here what his pace looks like now that he's free of the 19 car, free of any cars in front of him. Because that last time around, he wasn't significantly faster than the two leaders. This time by, he was a tenth of a second faster than Chad Finkenfield, but just about half a tenth faster than Matthew Week. So, yeah, let's see what Jared Rexon can do here. Yeah, like you said, 10 laps time, I think he could be right there on the bumper of that 15 car.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to keep up that pace. Sometimes you'll see you guys save their tires, and then when they're chasing those guys back down, they'll charge it a little too hard, make it all for naught. I don't think Rexing is one of those guys, but we'll see. As it looks like the 11's kind of put a little bit more of a gap on the 15. Maybe the 15 kind of wore his stuff off there, pressing for that couple laps, trying to get by the 11. Or maybe he's just cooling his stuff off, trying to make another run at it here in a couple laps. So we'll have to wait and see what the situation is there here in another 10 or 15 laps. But proud of that 11 car. He's worked hard at it. Whether he wins or finishes 20th tonight, either way, he's put a lot of work into it. And he tries his hardest every week, puts in the hours practicing, and it shows on the racetrack because he's getting better and better and better as the season goes on. And he's getting better and better and better every season we go. So definitely going to be a championship contender, whether it's this year or it's next year or whatever. He's going to be fighting for him here soon. That 11 car, Matthew Weeks.
Quick mention that Scott Crump, who was inside the top 10, did bring it down pit road. He is one of the first drivers on pit road. I want to talk a little bit. Do we expect to see these guys on pit road? The last went green with lap 96, so that would be about 110-ish laps. 105 at least under the green flag here. That's well within inside the fuel window here. The tire window we had mentioned as well. That's just a little bit outside of that. Do we see guys perhaps try to save their way to the end if this goes green all the way through?
I mean, the tire wear is definitely more on the short tracks. On the mile and a half, it's not a whole lot. I don't know. I know at Iowa, tire wear was a huge deal. Crump might be making a winning move there. It depends on when these guys come down. Because at Richmond, even in the Gen 6 car, I know making a two-stopper out of a long run was still a faster way to do it with those tires. So maybe he's onto something. I mean, I guess only time will tell. But I mean, it's
the thing that would really derail that strategy would be if a caution flag comes out. And by the way these cars are looking, I'm not so sure we are done with the yellow flag. So it's a big gamble to go down pit road because you do lose a lap here and you will lose all your track position. You could stay out with the wave around, but currently the big thing on the mind of the 90 car, he needs to unlap himself first and then try to make headway there against these guys.
Let's not forget, though, just how good Scott Crump was at tracks just like this. You go to Phoenix and Iowa, short tracks here, second in Phoenix, should have won that race if I think you ask many people. Obviously just lost out there. Iowa then, though, came back and the following week and dominated there. So look out for that 90 car. Obviously the damage is difficult for him to deal with, but yeah, I mean, that could be the strategy move there. We know he likes these types of tracks. We know he's strong at these types of tracks. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out here. Scott Crump running right now, one lap down from the leaders, obviously because he came down pit road, but Frankenfield down pit road.
And this is a unique pit road, getting onto pit road here. It's unique as far as the start, where pit road is timed. Getting on is in the middle of 3 and 4, so you cannot be caught speeding here as well.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if Weeks goes more than a lap here without pitting, but he does.
He stays out.
Maybe he's thinking that long run will be the way to do it, because he is. I mean, he's going to be more than a lap ahead of Chad Frankenfield. So,
and these guys right now are running his best lap. Matthew Weeks, our leader right now, his best lap was a 22.25. His last lap was a 24.05. So he's almost 2 seconds off the pace. That is definitely doable by these guys on newer tires to make up in time. And so we'll see what happens here.
The interval to Chad Frankenfield is shrinking by the second. So, I don't know. I'm glad I'm not in the race because I'd be trying to figure this one out too.
How hard is it to try and come up with your own strategy while you're racing there, Tate?
Well, I mean, it's I don't know. You just got to kind of go with your gut most of the time. But when you got 4 guys in your Discord that you're racing against, sometimes it's a little tough because you want to give them the best info you can. But if you give them bad info, then it's no good. But if you don't tell them the good info, then it's also no good. So, and sometimes it's hard to to figure out what's the good and what's the bad info. As Nick Massey, as I told you earlier, right before he had his issue, he's one of the best here at Richmond. He's showing that right now as a couple cars with some better tires are going by these leaders.
Well, here comes
Scott Crump in that 90 car.
Yeah, Crump's getting held up by the 91 right now.
It's a good thing he doesn't have a front bumper on that 90 car because he'd be using it to get around this field right now.
Yeah, this helps Nick Massey big time. He's going to get to the inside of Jerry Rexing. And, I mean, these guys in general, though, were, at least before this, were closing in on Matthew Weeks. I think they lost some time here with these lapped cars coming back around and unlapping themselves. Van de Zandt going to dive down and make his pit stop here. So expecting probably these top guys to come a few laps later as well. Matthew Weeks has now been cleared by those lap down cars. The big thing for these guys is right now, I'm sure they're probably hoping for a bit of a caution to come out here because otherwise they're going to be hustling to get back by the guys who just came down pit road a few laps here.
And you saw Scott Crump right there. He was able to unlap himself. That is good news because if the caution flag does indeed go up, he would still lose that track position, but he would still be on the lead lap. He wouldn't need to take a wave around there and find himself deeper in the field. So you saw the pace out of that 90 car, already wounded, but significantly faster than that 11 car. Will the 11 stay out? Because right now, I believe he's kind of made his bed currently with 45 laps to go. I think that's just too long to wait on those old tires.
Even if he pits right now, he's going to have an 8-second deficit to Chad Frankenfield and a 12-second deficit to Scott Crump. So,
but he would be on the newer tires, so it would.
He would be on newer tires, but it's a long ways, man. That's a long ways to try and catch up. And it looks like Chad's gained about 10 seconds since he pitted. I don't know what lap exactly he pitted on. It looks like maybe lap 147. So 8 laps, 10 seconds. That's
pretty significant.
Yeah.
And you see another one of those Pro Edge Racing cars as well, the 19 of David Tooker. He has yet to pit as well, and he has been struggling. He was our pole setter here for tonight, and he had actually fallen back outside of the top 5 before the sequence of pit stops began. You see Chad, oh my goodness, like the 11 car was standing still and moved the 15 back on the lead lap.
Yeah, that's pretty big there for Chad Frankenfield back on the lead lap. So now if a caution does come out, he's totally clear. So if I'm Matthew Weeks, I'd say this is the time to come down now. There's no advantage. You were racing Chad Frankenfield. There's no major advantage now to staying out this long. And let's take a look. He stays out, though, for another lap. Same with Nick Massey, Chris Wright, David Tooker, all of them still staying out. That's an interesting call there from my point of view.
Well, now the question remains, perhaps we were thinking if a caution flag came out, it would be bad news for the 15 and the 90, but it would also be welcome news for these guys that are very much so leading it. Here comes the 11 car. I think he's bailing out on strategy, but will he miss it?
Just make it.
Wow, we're just talking about how difficult that pit road is in the middle of turn 3 and 4, but he gathers it up. Question is, did he pit too late? That hands the lead to now Nick Massey and Chris Wright.
Yeah, 40 laps. I mean, that's still a lot of time. But I don't know. He might have waited a little bit too long. We'll have to wait and see here as Chad Frankenfield's already gone by him on the racetrack.
Yeah, Chad Frankenfield already by. That's a huge advantage right now for Chad. The question is though, what pace is Chad running? He's running 23. So, this is where this later pit stop becomes a little bit questionable because the difference in lap time from taking that undercut is pretty significant versus going for the overcut. It's not as significant of a difference. So, I don't know. He'll have that advantage for longer, obviously, Matthew Weeks, and it should, in theory, even itself out, but right now, I think Chad Frankenfield made the right move, and that could be a race-winning move for this.
Well, we're saying this as if the 15 would cycle out to the leader. Remember, he was not the first guy on pit road. That belongs to the 90 of Scott Crump. So there's still some work to be done by the 15 in order to get around that 90 car, who is in turn 3 right now, and Frankenfield about 2 seconds, I believe, behind him.
I think you'll catch him pretty easily here, pretty quick. 2.5 seconds. Let's see lap times there. Looks like, well, maybe a little over a tenth. So maybe not as much of an advantage as I thought he would have, but I mean, it's just amazing to me that Scott Crump's even in this conversation looking at that race car. I mean, he doesn't have a front bumper. I mean, I can't hardly see, but it doesn't even look like he's got a radiator lifting that thing. That's pretty.
Something that we've come to terms with, I think, at least me being in the booth, is that the damage on screen looks a lot more than what is on the race car. So that could be exactly what we are experiencing once again, at least up in the booth. But you're right. I mean, it's definitely
that's definitely the case, and yeah, and I was on the other end of that. I had more damage than it looked. So
Halloween was a couple of weekends ago, but that car is definitely scary. I don't want to have that in my mirror.
Yeah, he's dressed up for the occasion, that's for sure. And Weeks has only gained about. He hasn't gained as much as he needs to.
Yeah, so he's now fallen all the way back to the 10th position, and he is significantly behind Chad Frankenfield.
Nick Massey pitted, I think.
Yeah, Nick Massey's also come down pit road. He's out in 15th, and I just don't think this is going to work. Matthew Weeks, that last time around, and at 22.8, or let's see if it's any better.
22.51 right there.
51 there. But still, compared to the 22.9 that Chad's running, I just don't think that pace differential is significant enough. I think that the tires are holding on a lot longer into this run than I think people thought. And
that's right, coming down as well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for Weeks, is even if he's not able to get this win, if Chad's able to get this win, or Crump or whomever, it's still going to be a pretty good points night. And that's something that 11 car, with as many chase guys had bad luck tonight, that's what that 11 car needs. He needs a good run tonight. And so far, he's in position to get that. Whether he gets a checker flag or not is, I mean, that's indifferent. But let's see here at the line. 22.65 for Weeks and a 23.11. So for Chad, that's half a second. That's not going to quite do it, I don't think. If he does that every lap, then yeah.
There could be the battle for the win right here with the 90 and the 15. Chad Frankenfield has been able to stalk Scott Crump, and now he's on the attack.
Yeah, and these are two of the more aggressive guys in Elite, as both of you guys probably know. So I wouldn't be surprised if Crump puts himself in a spot where it's a little sketchy, and as we're seeing right here, Crump's not afraid to block, and Chad's not afraid to throw it in there. That's a dangerous combo sometimes. They're side by side down the front stretch. Crump's going to lead at least one more lap here.
Newer Tires definitely goes to the 15 as far as the advantage of Goodyear rubber, but the 90 car, you see him try to pinch him down to 15.
Chad's loose.
Definitely had to get back out of the gas a little bit to correct the car, but he'll mount another attack on this end of the speedway.
And the guy that's loving that is those of Jared Rexing, Matthew Weeks. Those guys are loving seeing these guys slide around as they're side by side again into turn one. Chad throws it in there. Crump's kind of pinching him. Chad's able to apex. He's a little loose again, and they're side by side just drag racing down the backstretch.
Crump's still in.
Oh, they're closer to 3. Here comes Vincent Isabella. What are they going to do? Vincent gets out of the way. That's going to cost Crump the spot. Chad Frankenfield's going to take the lead as we come to about 28 laps to go.
Yeah, Chad was able to use that lap car as a pick. Unfortunately, the 90 car, Vincent Isabella, he did exactly what he needed to do, which was get out of the way. It just didn't happen in enough time, and that gave the lead to the 15 car. The 90 now has to fight back to second, and there's some other cars behind him on newer tires that is not going to aid him as well. The 10 right behind him is only about 3 seconds, the deficit between him and first place.
Yeah, Rexing's in a good spot. And even Weeks, he gained about 4 seconds during that battle while we were watching. That was, what, 3 laps? 4 seconds? So, I mean, he's 10 seconds back. I still think he's too far back. But you never know. If these tires, if there's a wall, I mean, not that I would know what the wall on the tires is, where they just start dropping off. But if there is one, he might be in a pretty good spot. But by the way, that 11 car running 7th, Campbell's 6th, Dustin Dewar, I don't know if he's pitted yet. It looks like he has, actually. He jumped him a little bit. Pitted about 5 or 6 laps earlier. He's running P5 right now. Van de Sant, playoff driver, running 4th. Rexing, Crump, Frankenfield, your top 3. Frankenfield's able to put about a second in front of Crump right now. Rexing's gaining, though. He's only, let's see, he's about 3.2 seconds back.
2.3.
What is it?
2.3 seconds between Rexing and Crump. Or are you talking about Frankenfield?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. That's 1 lap difference. Rexing seemed to be a little bit better on the tires anyway, but with only 24 laps to go, might be too little too late. But as we got 2 modifieds racing here into turn 3, 25's lap down, trying to get it back.
The modifieds do put on quite a show here in real life. Richmond have a couple of friends that actually do race modifieds on this track. And you're right. I think the 90 and the 25 would give them a run for money. As we see, Jacob Adams just did not have the day he wanted through no fault of his own, but he's going to be leaving here in a hole and most likely a must-win situation as we enter Talladega next week.
Yeah, so the gap I'm looking at right now, like you were talking about, Tate, there is Rexing versus Frankenfield, because I think that's where this race is. Rexing, excuse me, on that last lap, 23.21, Chad Frankenfield, 23.35. Only a tenth of a second, tenth and a half there with 22 to go. That gap that gap sitting right now at about 2.5 seconds. It's not quite it for Jared Rexing. He's going to hope for some traffic there to help him against Chad Frankfield, as it's helping him a little bit here with Scott Crump.
The thing that would change everything, though, would be a yellow flag. And what we saw at the beginning of this race has not mirrored what we've seen on the back half of this race. It was a rash of yellow fever to begin tonight's race, but we have been clean and green for the better part of almost 80 laps.
Yeah, and Rexing, I don't know if Chad must have had something in front of him. Rexing got him by 4/10 that last lap. He's only 2 seconds back right now, and he's probably going to make pretty easy work of Scott Crump, although Crump, I've been racing with Crump for about 2 years now, and he is the last one I'd expect to get out of the way, although I don't think he's going to have much of a chance here with this 10 car. As the 10 car comes across the line 2 seconds almost exactly behind Chad Frankenfield, but he's going to lose a little time here, 1 and 2, battling on the outside of the 90 car. He should be able to clear himself going into 3, as actually he's gained 2/10, 1.8 seconds. We might have a race after all, boys. We'll see.
Yeah, that clearing there of Scott Crump and how ultimately simple it was for Jared Rexing here. The advantage for Rexing, what is that? That's 7 laps there over Chad Frankenfield. Yep, so 7 lap fresher tires. That's pretty significant. Again, last lap there took nearly 0.3 of a second off of Chad Frankenfield here. It is coming towards Jared Rexing. This race is starting to look good for him. He just needs to start making some forward progress here. 1.8 seconds now to the lead.
And the lap traffic, you see that play a factor. The 41 car is actually doing something to help the 10 car, and that is actually kind of drive away from the 10 car. He's on one of those cars on newer tires there. But where you catch lap traffic will play a factor in how you get around them and how quickly you can make the pass. We saw that be a factor into what has so far been the winning pass of the race between the 15 and the 90. Will that play a factor once again if the 15 cannot get around some lap traffic and the 10 car catches them in the worst way?
Well, it looks like he got him by another 2/10 last time by. We'll see the lap times here. I know Rexing was dealing with the 5. I'm not sure exactly what Chad was dealing with this last lap, but I'm expecting another 2 or 3 tenths. Yeah, Chad ran at 23.56. Rexing ran at 23.28, so just about 3 tenths. Rexing's only 1.2 seconds back as we see Chad trying to negotiate some lap traffic, get into turn 3.
And right now, if you're in Jared Rexing's shoes, right now you're doing everything in the race car, just hitting your marks. You're not necessarily trying to think of the time that you're gaining. You just want to make sure you are consistently hitting your marks. That consistently making that lap time is what consistently gets you up front.
Yeah, and as someone that's locked into the next round, I'm sitting here like, man, who do I want to race? Do I want to race Chad more? Do I want to race Rexing more? Who should I root for? And quite frankly, I don't want to race either of them. So I don't know what my who I should be rooting for here, but it looks like Rexing, he's gonna get there. He's gonna get to Chad.
The question is, can he get by Chad? Because Chad, I'm sure, is going to defend that position pretty heavily or pretty strongly there, and both these guys could look for a win. We talked about it when it came down to the chase bubble at the end of the regular season. Jared Rexing knows how to come in clutch when he needs to, and right now, showing that right now, great late run, great closing to a lot of these races, does a good job there. And yeah, right now, I don't know if I'm Chad Frankenfield, I don't know if I can defend against this from Jared Rexing.
Yeah, Rexing roped 1 and 2 right there. He's going to enter high. Look, watch this. He's going to, he's not going to apex low. He's going to enter, he's going to exit high. He's going to get the run. Maybe not as much as he was hoping, but 11 laps to go. Rexing's diving to the top. Ooh, this is going to get tight.
Far behind this battle is Alexander Van de Sande. He's about 1.6.
Oh, Rexing's there. He's there. Side by side into 3. This is going to get bad before it gets good, folks. Here comes the 10 to the outside. Chad can't do nothing with it. They're going to drag race down the front stretch, but I think this is a losing battle for the 15. The 10 car is going to take the lead getting into turn 1 as Chad doesn't do that. Oh, man, the 10 car clears for the lead. Jared Rexing up front into turn 1. And we're coming only 9 laps to go. Have we even seen the 10 car up front yet? I don't think we have, but he's there when it counts. Jared Rexing to the point.
Car that had some damage had to come down pit road on lap number 3, involved in our very first caution flag, has methodically worked his way up to the point with less than 15 miles remaining.
And I just heard Chad over the radio say, "Good win, Jared." So Chad is already, he thinks it's over. But I've learned in racing, it's never over until it is over. If these guys get a caution, they're all going to come down, they're going to take tires, and they're going to do it all over again. Obviously, being the leader has an advantage on restarts, but I mean, how about that drive for Jared Rexing? I mean, he won Sunday night in the trucks, and
winner at Kansas a couple of weeks ago, heating up at the right time.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, Rexing is on a little heater of his own right now, and yeah, he's been driving good. He's always been one of those guys that, he may not be up in the news. He may not be the one that everyone at Elite's talking about, but he's right there. And if you make a mistake, he's going to capitalize. As we come to 6 to go, Jared Rexing's got a pretty comfortable lead now over Chad Frankenfield, and I think Chad Frankenfield might actually be under attack from Alexander Van de Sande here in the next lap or 2.
Yeah, he made a good pit call there to try and go down earlier than these guys. However, I think Rexing just timed it perfectly, had traffic work in his favor, and now with 5 laps to go from the iRacing officials, can he try and make sure Talladega is no longer a factor for his championship bid by winning tonight's race here at Richmond?
It's looking like that right now as we got Van de Sande and Frankenfield battling for second behind him. I did notice that Nick Massey was able to get by Matthew Weeks for 5th. Weeks has fallen back from the leader now, so I don't know if he was kind of going a little too hard there. My 3 Pro Edge Racing teammates that are left in the race are out actually 6th, 7th, and 8th right now. Weeks, Clark, Tucker. Decent run with some of those guys that had a bad night. I think all 3 of them are probably looking for a little bit better than that. But Nick Massey, the Richmond GOAT, as I like to call him, he's running 5th, probably a little disappointed in his run too. Scott Crump, after I don't know what took his front nose off, but he's probably pretty thankful just to be in P4 right now. So we got Van de Sande and Frankenfield side by side.
Looks like Van de Sande on the outside.
Yeah, that's a losing battle for the 15 once again. Van de Sande to the 2nd position, and that'll be a good little consolation prize for him after last week. But we got 2 laps to go. Jared Rexing is driving off into the sunset. As long as we don't get a yellow flag in the next about
half a lap,
30 seconds, he's going to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, all Jared Rexing has to do here is make it through 3 and 4. Doesn't want to get Tyler Fodied over here. And he will not. There you go. White flag is out for Jared Rexing. Just 1 more lap to go to lock himself into round number 2 of this chase.
10 car there navigating through turns 1 and 2. See lap traffic of the 23 not going to play a factor. You gave a score tonight to the 10 car. You'd might say it's a 10 out of 10, but right now, Jared Rexing is going to make sure he is in the next round by winning tonight's race and he does so at Richmond. Jared Rexing, your winner tonight.
Yeah, what a drive by old Jared there. He's been on a little tear lately. That was a masterclass drive from him that last 100 laps to be able to catch those guys, pass them, and drive off into the sunset. We're going to see him do some next-gen burnouts here on the front stretch. The 23 of Harrison Talon actually didn't get lapped, but spun out on the front stretch, so he's got to go finish the race. And here's Rexing. He's going to park it here on the front stretch, and he's going to burn that puppy down.
I love, talking about iconic paint schemes in this league, and I know this is an ode to Jeff Green, who's actually a racer in our league here, but I love this paint scheme, and I love the drive out of Jared Rexing. He's definitely made it his own in this league, and congratulations to that 10 car there. Does not have to worry about big bad looming Talladega Super Speedway next week. He, perhaps like you, Tate, can join us in the booth and talk us through what it's like racing these guys as he makes contact with the 23 car. That's not the first time you've seen that car damaged all night, but it didn't stop him at all.
No, and the funny thing with the 10 car and his paint scheme that he runs is he was running that well before Jeff Green even joined us in this series. And Jeff Green, if you're watching, thinking about you tonight, I know you're having a rough night, but I think it's very fitting on the night where we're honoring C2 Freight that 10 car of Jared Rexing is able to get the win. Alexander Van Ascent getting second, and Chad Frankenfield rounding out your top three.
Now let's bring in Chad Frankenfield here, our third place finisher here tonight. Chad, making that early pit stop, it worked out for you a little bit there, but those later pitters just grabbing you there at the end with about 10 or so laps to go. This race had been 10 laps shorter. Could have been there for you, but still must be happy with that result here. Haven't been a ton of top threes for you this season, kind of finally getting a chance to put it all together.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a bummer. I mean, like, this is probably the third or fourth race where I felt like I was the second or best car and didn't have anything to come away with as far as a win concerned. I felt like in that situation, I thought it was smart to pit there because I just didn't see it going green the rest of the way. So I thought if I could pit and then get the lead, and then I got to Crump, and Crump raced me really, really hard, and it just burned the right front off the car just too fast. I don't know if it would have been enough to hold Rexing off, but I definitely would have gotten a second potentially. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. Like I said, this is like the fourth race. This is probably the third or fourth race this season where I've felt like I could win. But the positives, obviously, a lot of playoff or a lot of points going into Talladega, which is going to be interesting.
And you brought that up, Talladega does loom. You're not safe, but you definitely have a bit of a cushion here. Your season hasn't been all that bad, though, there, man. What do you think it just takes to get that next, little bit more speed right there and get you to victory lane?
It's so hard to win anymore in Elite, no matter what series you're running. You have to have everything come together perfect. It's just one of those deals. Las Vegas and Xfinity last week, I probably wasn't the fastest car, but I lucked out with the yellows. Where tonight I felt like I was the fastest car, but I didn't get the yellows, and it's just the way it goes. I feel like I'm in a situation where I'm running championship caliber racing. It's just a question of just doing everything I need to do to go from round to round. Talladega is going to be crazy. There's a lot of guys that are maybe kind of shocked that they're in their positions that they are, that are going to maybe do some desperate things, and I just got to hopefully just stay out of trouble, and honestly, I think a top 15 would work.
Yeah, Chad, you got fourth at Sonoma and third tonight, so I can't imagine you're going to be in too bad of a point situation, but obviously with Talladega next week, no one can really sleep too soundly the night before. What's your strategy going to be? Are you going to be riding in the back with me, or are you going to be up front battling for what it's worth the whole race?
I mean, so I'm looking at the points now, actually, and I just updated them.
Attaboy.
There's, we're right now, I'm 19 points ahead of the cut right now. So the cut line at battle actually isn't too crazy for me. Um, I just got to make sure I don't have a disaster of a race and a guy on the outside doesn't win. So really for me, I think it's just going to be just having a consistent race, stay out of trouble. Um, but then you got some guys on the outside looking in that are going to definitely need to do some magic. So um, yeah, it's going to be wild, definitely wild heading into Talladega.
All right. Well, before we let you go here, Chad, I want to give you a chance to make some shout-outs on the air.
I just want to thank Days Gone By, Vintage Apparel, C2 Freight, Response Energy, Blue Egg Marketing. I want to thank you guys for being in the booth tonight. Obviously, the intensity's picking up, so it's gonna be a fun next couple weeks. So thank you guys.
All right, third place finisher here tonight, Chad Frankenfield. Next, we'll bring in our second place finisher here, and that's going to be Alexander Vanessant. A pass late in the run there on Chad Frankenfield grabs you second place. Not the win that you could have gotten last week, but certainly must be a solid consolation prize here, Alex. A good run there at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Had a lot of fun. This is absolutely one of my favorite tracks in the IndyCar, and wasn't sure how it would translate to stock cars, but definitely very enjoyable. Really intense run at the end. I think everybody had like Iowa earlier this season in the back of their minds with 100 laps to go. Do you pit or do you not? Jared and I just timed it perfectly. Jared a little more perfectly than I did. I just tried to kind of follow him up through the field and worked out at the end.
Tonight was all about a little bit about survival at that first half, but then that second half, it went green for 105 laps. Did that surprise you? And then talk to me about your strategy call going to pit. When did you know that you needed to pit in order to get the most out of your tires, earning your second place run tonight?
Yeah, the long run didn't really surprise me. I mean, with this track, it's a tough track and a tough car, but people definitely have gotten better with it over the course of the season, obviously myself included. And with the nature of the track, it's really hard to get side by side with somebody unless there's a big difference in tires or they make a mistake. So you gotta kind of, you just gotta be patient. And so, but because they can't get side by side like that, there's less likely to be a wreck. So I've seen that in IndyCar races here too, where it's tough, but once people figure it out through the race, then it gets better. For the pit strategy, honestly, I didn't know when to pit. I think it was Scott Crump was like one of the first to go. I think Gerald as well. I felt that was like super early, only 30 laps in. So like you're still going to have worse tires by the end of the race. So I saw them getting a little squirrely up in front of me, just lots of traffic that people were trying to work their way through. And then Scott or Gerald or somebody, they unlapped themselves. And it's like, okay, so this strategy is clearly going to work. So I think I needed to like take my chance before it'd be too late.
Alexander, I'm looking at the points right now, and as long as the math is right, which it could not be, but it looks like it'd be 21 points to the good going into next week. Which, even though it's Talladega, if there's one track that 21 points doesn't sound great, it is Talladega. But 21 points has got to be pretty refreshing to you. What's your plans for next week? Are you going to be taking it easy? You're going to be up there running up front. What's your strategy going into Talladega?
Yeah, I mean, if I can qualify well and start up front, then yeah, I'll probably stay there. Otherwise, if I'm further back than 10th, that's really kind of the danger zone. So I'll probably drop back from there, but we'll see. Just going to kind of feel it out for the first half of the race, and then see if I can make something happen. The goal is to just not get wrecked out, and so I'm safe with the top 20. So that'll be the goal there.
All right. Well, before we let you go here, Alex, I want to give you a chance to make some shout-outs on the air.
Yeah, big thanks to everybody at Do Good Motorsports. We had a really solid run. Everybody in the top 20 tonight, so that was great. Of course, Miss Goodies Goodies, our usual sponsors, Happy Trails Chili Company, and Race First Broadcasting.
All right, man. Once again, congratulations on P2 here. Best of luck next week at Talladega.
Thanks.
All right, and then last but certainly not least, it's going to be our race winner coming in clutch once again here with a pass in the final 10 laps for the race win. Jared Rexing, man, what a drive there. Timed that last pit stop to perfection to bring it home for the race win, and of course locked in. Don't have to worry about Talladega. Talk us through your night here.
Yeah, that was a crazy night. Really had two different races there, with the first half being caution filled, all about staying clean, and then the last half that went caution free completely. So completely different race. You really had to manage that well. No idea how I timed that so well. I mean, you don't want to be the first to pit. You don't want to be the last. And after Alex went, that's the guy I was racing with. So I went soon after him. And soon after, my crew chief told me I wasn't going to make it to the end on tires anyway. So I knew I had to pit soon anyway. And it just worked out great.
Well, you had mentioned two different races here. You started off being involved in our very first caution flag. That one in turn number 3. Did that kind of scare you? And then walk us through your night getting to victory lane.
Oh, yeah, that first wreck was probably the longest wreck I've ever been a part of. But, yeah, there wasn't much contact there. It was like 6 seconds of repair. But definitely scared me, got my attention, knew it was going to be one of those nights where I just had to stay clean and stay out of trouble. And, once enough guys wrecked out, I was able to go through the field and stay up front. And if you're up far enough, you're out of trouble. And so that's where I was and stayed there.
Jared, 2 weeks ago and a little more, I guess, before Kansas, you were looking at a pretty much a must-win situation going into that race at Kansas. You're able to get that win, and now 2 weeks later, you're locked into the round of 9 and don't have to worry about Talladega. How are you feeling about the season with only, what do we got, 5 races left? How are you feeling about your chances at the championship, and how are you feeling about that next round of tracks?
Yeah, I mean, the start of the season was terrible. I was not going to make the chase unless I won a race, and luckily that happened. And it's it's been going pretty good ever since. Glad to get the win. I've never gone into Talladega, in the positive. I don't think even so. Going into Talladega without any of that stress is going to be beneficial in its own. And then the next round we got Dover, Auto Club, and Charlotte. So I've been decently well on those bigger tracks. It's kind of the short track package I've struggled, even though I was able to get one tonight. But I mean, now with the extra win, that's 5 more playoff points going forward. That's definitely helpful. Probably I think the most playoff points I've ever had now, actually. And if we could just keep the momentum rolling, and who knows what could happen going into the next round.
All right, well, Jared Rexing, congratulations once again on the win. Before we let you go, I want to give you a chance to make some shout-outs here on the air.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to my wife, as always, my biggest fan, watching and supporting me.
All right, well, congratulations, man. You advanced to the round of 9. Don't have to worry about next week at Talladega, so get to going out and have some fun on the Super Speedway. Congratulations, and have a good night, man.
Thank you, guys. You too.
All right, there were Sav and Tate. We saw what we expected, an exciting night. I liked what I believe it was what Jared had said. It was a tale of 2 races there. We had some caution flags there at the beginning, but toward the end, we really put it back into the driver's hand. It was a driver's racetrack. These guys had to wheel it around by themselves and figure out strategy that gave them the best shot at getting to victory lane. We saw that end in the best way for Jared Rexing, Alexander Van der Sat, and Chad Frankenfield. Just missing out on that there. But as we look ahead to Talladega Super Speedway, I know there are a couple of guys that are probably not feeling too good.
No, actually, I was just looking at the points, and those bottom 5, it looks like there's going to be about a 13-point buffer from the guys in the playoffs for the next round and the guys out of the playoffs in the next round. So those bottom 5, you got a lot of good plate racers there. I mean, you got Johnny Thomas, you've got Andrew Rucker, Brandon Key, Jacob Adams. they're all really good on the plate tracks, and they've all got just as good a chance as any going into next week. But only one of them can win, and they don't really want to hear it, but there's 35 other guys that are going to be battling for the win. So, my goal as a driver next week, go out there and try and win the race, have more playoff points going to the next round. But, I mean, I don't really care about the result as much as some of those other guys, so I might be a little bit more aggressive than, a Chris Wright or a Scott Crump. I think you guys are in for a really fun race next week. Hopefully there's nothing too crazy, but enough excitement to keep you guys on your toes those final couple laps.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild one. To be expected. I'm curious to see, what some minor updates that have gone on throughout this, this season. Revisiting a super speedway and seeing how the package works. I'd expect something similar to Daytona, kind of like what I mentioned earlier. But if that is the case, guys need to be more aggressive on restarts. Guys are going to have to be more aggressive with opportunities that come up because track position is going to be important. So a lot more opportunity for major incidents and getting caught up in other things. So for you, Tate, I hope for your sake that you make it through a lot of the big crashes that we're probably going to have tomorrow or next week. But I think it's going to be entertaining for us to call that one up here in the booth.
Yeah, I think there's actually only one safe spot at that track, even virtually, and it will be up in the booth there, Rashaf. So I want to thank you, Tate, there, our championship point leader, who will have that daunting task ahead of him, as well as the 39 others there tonight. So, Tate, I want to thank you for coming in here. If there's anybody you'd like to shout out there as well.
Oh, man, I just appreciate you guys letting me come up here. I need to get a little practice in for the announcing side of things. So I don't think I really called too many things. So we had some great conversations up here. I appreciate you guys letting me come up and join you. And
I think all you have to do, you mentioned you're doing football next week, but I just think you just need to sing and you got it, man.
Well, I think anyone who's actually heard me sing, see the difference in I may not be scared to sing and just kind of let, have my fun. But it doesn't mean it sounds good. So probably won't be doing that. But hopefully this football gig I got coming up on Friday doesn't go too bad and can, use some of this practice that I got tonight since I got wrecked out on lap 38 to my advantage.
All right. Well, hopefully good luck for you on Friday night. Also, good luck to you next Wednesday night, which you'll catch all the action right here on YouTube beginning at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, that track we call the biggest stage in all of NASCAR, Talladega Super Speedway, the final race in this round for the playoffs. Want to thank everybody that's been involved in putting on this production as well. Rashaf with graphics, he's always doing a great job as well. Again, to our title sponsor, Mission 22. Also thinking about these guys for this Veterans Day tomorrow there. So another shout out to all the vets out there that have helped serve and have given the ultimate sacrifice as well. And then we also want to give one more condolences to John Cunningham, the owner and operator of C2 Freights. We are thinking about him and his family at this time. So lots of good coming into next week with Talladega Super Speedway. So we expect to have an exciting show. But from all of us here tonight, we hope you enjoyed tonight's event at Richmond Motor Speedway. Congratulations to Jared Rexting, winner of the Mission 22 200. We will see you guys next Wednesday beginning at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So long from Richmond.